Hello there. This is going to be a really quick demo of how we can take a scene in Blender and quickly turn it into a WebXR experience using Godot and GitHub. So right away, before you get started, you should have all three of these programs ready to go. You should have Godot ready to go. I'm using 4.3. Here we have the GitHub desktop app. And then here we have our scene in Blender. So right off the bat, we're going to export this scene so we can use it. So we'll just go to export and we'll go to the GLTF export. And here you can see I've already exported it. So I'm just going to go through the settings here. But we want to include visible objects. We want to go into the data section and mesh, apply modifiers. For the material, I'm going to compress them down to the WebP format to make my file smaller, and we'll keep animation checked. I'm going to set it to NLA tracks, but we're not even going to need to use that now. So then we can hit export. Let me just give this a different file name so we can start working right away. So we'll hit export, and as you work on more elaborate scenes, you will have more elaborate sets of assets, but for right now, we're just going to work on this. I am actually going to export it again, though, because I noticed that these vases are not well named. So I'm going to select all three of these, and I'm going to search, and I'm going to type BATCH, and then here we have batch rename. I'm just going to rename the selected. And here we're just going to do set name instead of replace, and the name will be vase. That's actually changed the whole name. Sorry, I had it set to suffix to vase, and now we have vase 1, vase 2, and then we can go ahead and do the whole export thing one more time. And while that's exporting, we're going to go to the next phase. So through the site on Canvas, there's a download link for a quick Godot template, which uses a number of free assets to make a very quick VR scene. So we have downloaded that right here into this download folder. So here we have room with 3 things, and we have our template. So right off the bat in this folder, we want to extract all that right here. So I'll just hit extract all. Now, if you're working on a Mac, you can just double click a zip file to extract it, but on Windows, you can kind of semi-navigate it like a folder. So here's that. We don't really need, well, we should keep the zip file in case we need it in the future. So here we have the IIS XR template. There's another folder inside it, but there's all the stuff right there. Let's do this. So here we will go to Godot, and you can see I have a few projects here, but I'm going to hit import, and I am going to navigate back to that folder and all the way till I find project.godot, and then I'll hit open, and we get this thing that looks kind of like a warning, but it's actually good news. This is valid, so we hit import and edit, and now this is going to load. So a number of little progress bars will go as it loads to different things. Some scripts might have errors as it loads, but don't worry about that. Often that's just because it's loading different things at the same time. So here is our basic scene. So really quick overview. We're going to go into much more depth, but here we have our assets down in this section here, itself there. And then up here we have our scene outliner. We have some import settings here. Here we have our main viewport on our scene. And if you're using a trackpad or a 3-button mouse, The basic viewport navigation is actually the same as Blender. So middle click to rotate, shift middle click to pan around the scene. The sky in the distance does not move. We can also switch this viewer, so we can switch to a 2D editor for 2D games. We got the 3D editor. We have the script editor here where we can get in and change a little code here and there, or just code everything. This is just a README file in here. There, you can actually see some code in here. And then we have the asset library, which is just filled with amazing stuff. So right off the bat, this template already has the following assets set up. So it has, if I search XR, we already have Godot XR tools for Godot 4. We already have the XR input simulator. And that's going to be really helpful because that's going to let us try out our VR environment, even if we don't have a headset on hand. I also have included this asset called Blender Shortcuts is installed but not enabled. So if you want to use the Blender transform shortcuts, you can do that. And then I believe there's also a first-person controller asset. But you can see there's tons of assets here. They're free, all sorts of great stuff. If you want materials, you can search for shaders. And you can see there's all sorts of amazing materials and things, dynamic materials that you can add to your scene. But we'll go back to the 3D viewport. Over here, we have these controls. The big play button plays your game. And then we've got like play current scene, compatibility settings, and then the inspector. So once we select an object in the outliner, the inspector will give us various settings. Just to look around here real quick, we have a player here. And I tried to keep the original names of these things. So it says XR Origin 3D and then in parentheses player. You can see if we open that up, it has a lot of different stuff in it. We've got an XR 3D camera. We've got a hand, which has both like a hand mesh and animation for hand movements attached to it. It also has movement direct, which is the command that allows the stick to move you forward and side to side, etc. We've got movement jump, which allows you to jump with one of the buttons on the controllers. Crouch allows you to crouch. And then on the right hand, we've got most of the same stuff. We've got movement turn. This one actually doesn't need movement direct on it, but I'll leave it on there for now in case one of your batteries dies on one of your controllers. It's handy to have. We've got movement jump, same as the other one, crouch. And then we also have function pickup. So right now the right hand is set to pick things up, but not the left. But that function can easily be added to the left hand. And we might do that now, or we might just save that for the next thing. Because right now we're just talking about getting our model in here and uploading this. So if I just hit play right now, it's going to get ready to play. And soon it's going to give me a warning. And it does the same thing on a Mac. It says I don't have a HMD, head-mounted display, attached to the computer. But because we have this other add-on set up, we will get this preview. So the way this preview works is we can use the mouse to look around. We can use the arrow keys to turn. So the arrow keys kind of match to the right controller stick. WASD will allow us to move around the scene. And you'll see that this does have a collision in it. So this weird ball here, if I can push it away a little, if I jump into it, and then you've got the Q and E keys. So if I press Q, I'm now moving the left controller. So I just hold down Q and I can move the left hand, which does not have a collider in it. And if I click the left mouse button, I get my index finger. And if I click the right mouse button, I get the grip. And this is holding the button Q down the whole time. I can also use the A and B buttons by pressing 1. And see, I get a little jump in there. And 2, oh wait, sorry. 1 is a crouch. Ball went up because I went down. And 2 is a jump. And that's all holding that letter down the whole time. So I have that controller active. So now if I hold E, I can move my right hand. And this hand actually has some grabbing abilities. So I can test that this object is grabbable by pushing the hand into it and right click. And there you can see I can pick up the object. And then I let go of the mouse and I drop it. Now you might notice that this ball in this scene doesn't really roll. And that's because on purpose, I've set it up with a cube collider, even though it's a spherical mesh, just because we don't have any boundaries and you can easily lose things. Like I just knocked myself off the scene. And there I go, falling forever and ever and ever. So that's okay. To get out of the scene, we press escape on the keyboard. And now we can just go up back in our editor and press stop. And we've stopped that simulation. So let's get our initial export going, and then we can bring in our model. So to get our initial export, we want to open GitHub. And here you should already be logged in and everything. And I'm going to click on the repositories. I'm going to do add. And I'm going to create a new repository. And I'm going to call it VR art. And for the description, VR for artists, whatever you like. I'm going to add a README to the repository. That's good to have a little README file in there. And now I'm going to click Create Repository. And now we have created a folder for our repository. So we can click here, Show in Explorer. If you're on a Mac, it'll say Show in Finder. And there we can see our folders right here. So there it is. It's in my name, Gregory Virchow, Documents, GitHub, VR Art. And here's my folder. So now coming back to our project, we're going to go to Project, Export. And here we're going to add a web export setting, but here where it says web, we actually have to add capital XR on there, so we know that it's WebXR. And don't think there's any other important settings here. Here, there's this thing for texture compression. You could add that for mobile. That seems to create some problems, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. And we're ready to go. So we will, oh, we need our path. I'm sorry. So here we'll select to create our export path, and we want to go up to our, so pressing the up to go up through folders. I'm going to open Documents, I'm going to open GitHub, and open VR Art, and now I'm going to type index.html because this is WebXR, so it starts like just any old website. So now we'll click Save, and we'll hit Export Project. And here it just shows us these settings again. And something we do want to change is here where it says export with debug. Let's uncheck that because it makes the project a lot heavier. So now we'll hit save, and this will start going. And again, don't worry about little errors that might pop up as you go. So it looks like that has completed its process. So I'll hit close. And now we will look at GitHub again. Now you can see that there's all this new stuff that needs to be added. So I'm going to write initial upload of base template as a further description. It's nice to document these things. Now I'll click commit to main. And now we have this option, publish repository. So I'll click that. And here where it says keep code private, uncheck it. And now we will click publish repository. Okay, so we've got our basic repository uploaded, and we can click on this button here, view on GitHub, and this web browser should pop up, and here it is. So now let's turn this into a web page we can actually access. So here we'll go to settings. Now, if you forgot to uncheck that private thing, you can go down here and change visibility here in the danger zone. This is also where you can delete the repository, which you should do if you're not using it anymore. No need to waste space on the net. So now we're going to go, now that we know that this is set, this repository is currently public, we know that, we're going to come up here and we're going to click on pages in this left column here. And here we're going to click on GitHub Actions. And we're going to configure this as a static HTML page. So we'll click Configure. And here it's created this new YML folder. So we'll just click Commit Changes. Commit Changes. So let's save that. And now we can go back to the root of our repository. And we will go to Settings again and Pages. And now we can click on Deploy from Branch. And we have this set to root. We'll go to GitHub Actions again. I'm actually not totally sure why you have to go to GitHub Actions again, but there's our website now. For some reason, it doesn't. In my opinion, it should load a step earlier. But so this address will take us to our website. So I'll click Visit Site. 3, 2, 1, and here it is. Now, unlike A-Frame, we actually can't enter VR. It'll just tell us we don't have VR headset on. So you have to do your testing within Godot for this. I'm working on a solution to that so that this can be compatible with things like the like immersive web add-ons, but right now it's not. So here we have our basic page. So we are going to drag that out of the way. We'll hide that. And now here, this says no local changes, but you can see that we have this option to fetch origin anyway, and we're going to do that. And in the process of doing that, it's finding that extra YML folder. So we'll click pull origin, and now everything should be up to date there. So let's get our GLB file into this scene. So here we have room with 3 things. I'm going to drag it right into our assets. Importing GLBs takes a minute. And now our scene is in here. So here it is, room with things, GLB, and then there's all the images for the material. So we can just drag this right up onto this main node here and let go. And there it is. It's already in our scene. Now, I'm going to move this whole thing a little bit. So I'm going to click here on the rotate node. And I'm going to rotate it. Actually, I rotate it off axis just for fun. And then I'll go to the move node. Whoops, that's size. The move node, the move gizmo, and I'll shift this out a little bit. So we're looking in here. We also probably don't need this ball anymore, even though I love it so much. Hide that away. And there we go. Now we're just looking right into our scene. So we don't have to worry about setting up colliders because we have this floor here. So I'm going to take the floor actually and move that too so it's a little bit below the scene. I don't see any shadows here. So let me see. We got the world environment, directional light, which functions like a sun. And here in the shadow section, we will turn shadows on. And now we've got some nice shadows in our scene. So that's all ready to go. So I'm going to save this scene. So I'll press Control or Command S. And now we're going to go to Project, Export, and we've got all the same export settings as last time. So I'll hit Export Project, Save. Yes, we want to overwrite it. And there it goes. That's done. There weren't that many changes, so it only exports the things that are different. And now we will open the GitHub app again. And you'll see here it's talking about some different changes in the code. So the package has been changed because it has the 3D file in it, and then the code is changed to point to it properly. So now we're going to say updated with art, commit to main, push origin, and we're finished with the upload. So now we still have this open in the browser, and our world looks the same. But you can see if we hold Shift and reload this page, it should look different, but it doesn't. Let's try to reload it again. And there it is. There's our scene. And again, we can't enter it in VR here. So if you want to preview it, you need to go back to Godot and press play, and you'll see, you'll say no HMD, you say okay, and there's our hands, there's our scene. Now, we're pretty much done, but one more thing I will mention is here is our room with three things. But I can right click on this and choose the option make local, and now all the objects in it can be individually um, selected and edited and moved around and stuff like that. Also, in the next demo, we'll add physics and grabbability to these vases so we can pick them up and throw them out the windows. All right, so that should get you started. We got a Blender file, exported it as a GLB, brought it into Godot with a template, exported that as WebXR, uploaded that to GitHub, and initialized the repository as a site. So now, you know, the world is yours. You can make anything you want.